Hey guys, this is my little boy's 2015 Tao Tao 110. We got this thing for him used a couple weeks ago. Wasn't ridden very much. So my little boy's been riding it, I don't know, maybe he's put 8 hours on it in the last week or so, along with my daughter. And a couple days ago, it would not start. It just started to click. So when we would hit the start button, it just clicked on us, and that was all that happened. So I thought my battery was dead. So I charged the battery, and battery fully charged, tested good, 12 volts. And so I put the battery back in, same thing, click, click, nothing. I'd hit the start button, click, 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 nothing. So I thought, maybe this battery is just smoked. It's a couple years old, and this is probably no good. You know, they're 30 bucks or whatever at Walmart, so I'll just go snag a battery. So I went and got a new battery today, new motorcycle battery, put it in there. Guess what? Click, click, click. So after looking all over the place, can't find anything really that was leading me to the source of the problem. I bypassed the starter solenoid, so just took a jumper wire and jumpered the starter solenoid, where you just go from pole to pole to bypass it. Click, 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 nothing. So then the next step in the equation for me was the starter. So I thought, well, let's test the starter and see if the starter is working for us or not. And so I jumpered from the positive terminal on the battery to the main positive lead on the starter itself. Same thing, click, click, nothing. And so just watched a couple tutorials on YouTube on how to change the starter. So I thought the starter was bad. I'm hoping it's not bad. I think I just solved the problem. So figuring out how to take this starter out after watching a couple YouTube videos, I pulled the case off where the bolts are for the starter. Let me show you what that looks like. Okay, so I just pulled the case off. You can see the starter there. So here is the chain for the crank. I would need to take off that little sprocket right there with you can see there's a little snap ring. So I believe you need to take that snap ring off, and then you take off that tiny sprocket. Then the chain comes off. The starter is right there. I apologize, it's a little bit dark. It's nighttime, we're getting ready to go camping, and of course this is when these things happen. But so I just pulled that casing off and tried to spin the wheel here, and it would not spin. So I was like, oh crap, something is not right here. We've got a problem. And I spun it again, and a pretty dang good sized rock came out of it. And I don't know what I did with it. I just threw it, but a pretty dang good sized rock actually came out, and it immediately freed up some slack in the chain. Before that, I could not move this chain whatsoever. So there was a rock in there, and I'm thinking that rock was just wedged in there and was not allowing the starter to spin. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna put the case back on, tighten her up, and I think that will solve our problem. So stay tuned, I'll be right back. Okay, so got crankcase back on, and I guess not crankcase, or flywheel case, whatever. Got that back on. I want to just one thing, right? So I've had these little Chinese bikes before. This is your friend. Get yourself some Loctite. Anytime you take off the nuts and bolts of these Chinese bikes, get some Loctite. The problem that I have had most frequently in the past with these Chinese bikes is that the nuts and bolts tend to rattle loose pretty frequently. And so as I take these things apart and put them back together, through maintenance or whatever, I Loctite everything. So I just put the case back on, and so check us out. Let's turn the choke on. Let's see what happens here. Yeah, baby. So seriously, I could not get this thing to turn whatsoever. I have Googled the crap out of this all day. I knew that my starter was not bad, at least I didn't think it was, and I knew that the solenoid was not bad. My ignition wasn't bad, my start button wasn't bad, so it was a stinking rock bound up inside there that was not allowing the flywheel to turn. So anyways, I'm sorry for my terminology. I'm not a motorcycle guy, I'm a car guy, but you get the point, right? So if you get that click, 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 don't immediately assume it's the battery or your starter. Pull that case off where your chain is, where the starter is, and see if there's a rock bound up in there. Apparently there's some access point, which now I have to find, that will allow pebbles to get inside the case where your starter wheel is and bind it up. So I'm stoked. Anyways, see you guys.